Hello. Hello there. Happy Sunday and welcome to my second Facebook Live cooking dem. So tonight I'm going to show you how to cook the perfect steak. When you think about it, a steak is not an inexpensive piece of meat, and when it's cooked really well, there is nothing better. But when it's not cooked so well, it's a shame to ruin it. So that's why I thought tonight, that's what I do. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for joining me. Please do feel free to ask me questions through, and I'll give you some special times for questions. I'm going to be moving my computer around so that we can get different angles so that we can see different things. So it's how to cook a perfect steak, but it's also how to cook a perfect piece of lamb or chicken, and yes, even fish, because the principles are all the same. So, and it's what I'm going to eat for my dinner. So I don't know. Oh, hi, Sherry. How are you? I don't know if any of you are going to cook along with me, but we'll get underway. We'll say cheers, because the sun is definitely over the yardarm. Good Australian Shiraz for me. And then we can get underway. So first thing that's really important, and I'll just move my computer so that you can see. There we go. That's my workspace. First thing, you want your pan to be really, really hot. Okay, you want it to be hot so that you can seal the meat. You can turn it down a little bit later if you need to. So this is how to cook a perfect steak. Now, I've chosen some rump steak. Rump's actually much more affordable. I just bought a big piece and cut it in half. And I'm going to leave this selvage fat on. If you don't want to eat it, by all means, take it off later. But it's actually going to help keep your meat nice and moist. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm not going to pour my olive oil in the pan, because if I do, it's going to burn all the bits around there as well. Instead, and I always use Australian extra virgin olive oil, I'm going to brush that on my meat. Then I'm going to sprinkle. I firmly believe in seasoning. Once again, I'm using Australian salt. Now, some people like to put pepper on and others don't, but I think it does help with the crusting. So now we just turn the meat over the other way. And we'll brush the other side with some extra virgin olive oil. And you do this with lamb or chicken, or even if you're doing something that's going to go in the oven, it's a great idea to do this first. Okay, so there we go. So now some more salt, and then some pepper. And now we should hear a sizzle when we put it in the pan. Let's just put a little edge down first. Ah, great. Now, what to do now is move that plate away, because you don't want to put raw meat cooked meat where raw meat has been. Okay, so while we're doing that, I just thought I'd see if any of you have got any questions. I can scroll down. I've mastered this now. Oh, hi, Lynn. Oh, and Marnie, hey, and Penny. And hi from the Hunter Valley. That's lovely. And there you go. Now, anchovy, but Amanda has suggested anchovy butter. That is really good. Oh, and you watch Lyndey and Blair's Taste of Greece today. That's really lovely. Anchovy's amazing. In fact, you could add a little bit, you know what, just for you, you could add a bit of anchovy to the sauce that we're going to make. It really does make things go really beautiful and really savoury. It's a great thing to do to really make a sauce fantastic. Now, what I'm going to do as well, what you don't do, you don't act like a bloke at the Barbie and stand there with your tinny and keep turning it over. Because if you keep turning your steak over, it's only the outside that ever gets cooked, because you keep turning it over. You've got to leave enough time for the heat to actually get through. Now, I like my steak rare. I'm going to warn you of that. but you can cook it however you like. Hello, Gail, how are you? Inika, one flip only. I mostly do one flip only. I will sometimes turn it a second time. And hello, Val from Brisbane. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to do some veggies as well so that we're doing it all in real time. There we go. So I have got some carrots. Oh, I wish you could smell this. So I'm just putting some carrots in there, and I forgot to salt the water, so I'll put some salt in there as well. And I'm going to cook all my veggies in the same pan because it's going to save washing up. Okay, now this is absolutely smelling fantastic. I'll just have a little look. I'm not going to turn it over, but I just want to show you. I wouldn't normally do this, but it's only so that I can show you. There you go. So what I'm going to do now, I might just reduce that a little bit. I haven't got my fan on because I don't want to make that much noise. So we've got the carrots in, and then we're going to do the reduction sauce. So for those of you who've just joined me, we are doing how to cook the perfect steak, and it's exactly the same principle if you're doing a fillet of chicken or a fillet of fish or lamb as well. So that's what's happening. So you can see that this is, I love this. See how that's sort of smoking a bit? I love that. I have to say, when I was in hotel lockdown, this is what I absolutely longed for. So now this is where we have to stop the temptation to turn and turn and turn and turn and turn. So what we're going to do in the end is test to see how well done it is. But I don't know. How do you like your steak done? Do you like it well done or do you like it rare? Because the trick is in the resting. Because what happens with meat is the heat goes from the outside in, and so if you cut it then, the juices will go everywhere and you'll lose them. You want them to relax. You want them to relax and just go out like that. So we're nearly ready to turn. But first of all, do please ask me. Inika likes this medium, then you'll cook yours for a couple minutes more than this. By the way, the blog, when you finish this, you can go to my website to see the blog, not only for how to do the perfect steak, but a whole lot of other steak recipes. Kim, you like it rare. Of course you do. A good wine girl like you. So here we go. I'm sorry, it's not a Hunter Valley Shiraz that I'm drinking. Okay, the time is coming. Look at that. Look at that lovely smoke. Love it, love, love it. Now, you can actually see, well, I hope you can see, a bit of blood coming up to the other surface, which indicates that it's time to turn it. Okay, so we'll turn it now. So now that I've turned my steak, I'll turn it down just a tad, and just working on the time frame. I'm also going to show you a groovy way to cook mushrooms to really minimise the fat. Once again, we're going to heat the pan. Always heat your pan first before you put oil in, because then things aren't going to stick. And by the way, did you see how beautifully my steak turned? It did stick on the pan, and that's because I let it cook sufficiently. Okay, so now with the mushrooms, I'm just going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in the pan. I always cook with extra virgin olive oil, Australian of course. And so I'm just going to pop them in this way first. And the other veggies I've got some beautiful little trimmed Brussels sprouts. So they don't take quite as long to cook as the carrot. So I'm going to pop them in as well. Okay. So this is where we need to be patient and not turn the steak. It's so tempting to turn the steak. So now, medium rare. Great question, Penny. Whether to cook it on the barbecue or on the stove. I'm not cooking on the barbecue for three very good reasons. One, it's freezing out there. Two, my automatic lighter's stopped working, even though I've changed the battery. But the other thing is I want to have all the beautiful juices in this pan to go into my sauce to make it really, really lovely. Oh, and Amanda, you want a gravy recipe? Well, I'm going to make a sauce. Difference between a sauce and a gravy is 3 days. No, that's what it used to be like when we did all that French stuff. I'm going to show you a reduction sauce that you can use for anything, okay? And you can then adapt it for chicken or fish or even vegetables. So, yeah, now Di's saying the first meal she cooked once out of quarantine, mandatory quarantine, I know what that's all about, was really rare steak that, you know, in an old cast iron pan from the 70s and with garlic. That is fabulous. I don't know if you saw it, I got a tomahawk steak. That is absolutely what I wanted because, of course, when you're in quarantine, you get a lot of slop, I guess. Okay, so now broccolini, fresh green beans, and baby caramelized carrots. Yum. Really what I'm teaching you is something else. Now what I'm going to show you is how, now we had a question about turning once or twice. Now, on this occasion, sorry, I might just have to turn my fan on for a minute. Does that noise worry you? I just got to turn my fan on for a minute. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to turn it one time, and I'll show you why. You can see that there's blood pooling on the top. I'm going to turn it one more time, and I'm going to show you how we test. Oh, that's really ready to come off. Look at how we test it out. So I've turned that down. So, put your thumb and your forefinger together, okay, like that. Feel in here. That's called the Mount of Venus. Feel that. That's what rare steak is like. Move your thumb to the next finger, and it's a bit firmer. And that's what medium rare is like. Your next finger, firmer still, that's medium well, and here it's quite firm, that's well done. Okay, so now, that is well and truly cooked. So we're just going to put it aside. I'm going to cover it with some foil. And it's not going to get cold, promise. So now, I only need to make enough for two, so this is half a cup of beef stock. And a quarter of a cup of red wine. That's because I'm only making enough for two. Now, I couldn't find any red currant jelly in the shops, so what I've got is some Quicks paste, and this is going to help thicken my sauce and give a bit of sweetness because the wine. Okay, so now I just turn that right up again. Okay, so I should have a look. So we're going to rest. So now we're resting the meat, okay, because it's very, very tight. Sasha says she can smell it from there. Julie Campbell's out. Trevor, does he stand at the barbecue and turn it all the time? Sasha can smell it. And what's the difference between sauce and gravy? Great question, Lucy. Well, I'm not putting any flour in this. Now, it's not only because I like to be gluten-free. It's just I don't think we need flour in everything all the time. So I'm evaporating off the excess liquid, and then that is what is going to thicken the sauce. Now, I'm just going to get a spoon because I actually need to break down that. Here we go. To break down the. So this is as I said, this is Quicks paste. Oh, I forgot these. No one told me about my mushrooms. Right. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you what to do. So that they don't need so much oil, all you need to do is pop a little bit of stock or water in there. Actually, we're doing beef. Let's put a bit of beef stock in there. See that? Just a little bit. That'll bubble up. And I'm going to cover it with a lid. And they're going to cook through. Okay, so now this Red currant jelly will dissolve really easily. So I'm waiting for this to get hot enough to melt. Do a thick paste, you can do anything you like. So, but the thing is that we really want it to thicken up. So that's the basic formula. So what you're doing is you've got 2 parts of stock to 1 part of wine to something interesting to thicken it up. So, for example, if you want to do it with chicken stock, so say for 4 people, you do a cup of chicken stock, half a cup of white wine, and you might put in Dijon mustard or some cream. Fish, you'd put in fish stock, a cup of fish stock, half a cup of white wine, and then probably a quarter of a cup of cream. And then you could put some tarragon and dill or something else in it. You want to do a vegetable reduction, use vegetable stock, still definitely put in that half cup of white wine, and then you know, you can put in your mustard or something else. So that's what I recommend. Now let me just see. Okay, then you know how well cooked it is. Great, I'm glad you're all enjoying it. Yeah, action with persimmon, that's a great idea, Di. Okay, so the tomahawk steak, great question, Tracy. With the tomahawk steak, because it's on the bone, and you know I just had boneless steak, because it was on the bone, I wanted to make sure that, so what I did was I sealed it on the grill, like the char grill, like a grill plate, and then I put it in the oven for 5 or 10 minutes because I wanted the bone to be all cooked and delicious. Okay, now, my bad, I'm forgetting things. Here we are, I'm too busy chatting. So I'm just going to throw some things in here. I just chopped and tailed some green beans. See this? Now, I judge quite a lot of young chef competitions, and you'd be amazed how many of them actually don't taste. If you don't taste it, you know what it tastes like. So let's have a little taste. Oh. Okay, now that's quite thick, and it's a little sweet for me. I'm going to pop in just a bit more red wine, and I'm going to pop in a little bit more beef stock. Now let's have a look at our steak. Okay, so you can see that quite a lot of juices have come out, so they can go back into the sauce. And see, that plate's really warm just from the steak. So I'm just going to wait another minute. So I'll come back here. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. It is so important to taste your food. And I just love it. That's what I love about cooking. I love it when a plan comes together, and I love that. Has anyone got any requests for what they'd like me to do next week? Cakes in the microwave last week. I had a question about the perfect stir fry. Who's got a question for what they'd like me to do next week? I'm going to plate up my perfect, I hope it's perfect steak, my perfect steak with my veggies and reduction sauce. But if anyone's got a request, hi Scott, nice to see you too. Cheers. And Gail, you're so right about the way the sauce looks. It's just beautiful. Actually, I should get a spoon for serving that. Here we go. Yeah. Right, okay, I think we're nearly ready to go. What do you think? Yeah, the meat juices into the sauce, absolutely, yeah. Okay, well, let's have a little look then. Let me see how that is. Right. Okay, so our sauce. Here are our mushrooms. Look at these. Actually, what I might do is move this. So look at the mushrooms. They're really nicely cooked and just with minimal fat. My veggies are cooked. I'll just drain them off camera, and then I'm going to plate up, and we'll see how we go. Right. So I think we might just turn that off now. let's actually I'll clean spoon and take again. You've got no idea if I've had come on TV with me and they done it, but we're not. Look how beautiful and thick that sauce is. Yeah, tastes superb. Okay, we're that off. We'll turn the fan off. Okay, so let's have a look. So, wipe my plate, and it's always nice if you have a warm plate. So I'll just some veggies. I always like a bit of colour. The rainbow, higgledy-piggledy, not yeah. Higgledy-piggledy is fine. Bit of colour. They don't be perfectly plated. This is Sunday night dinner after all. Okay, a couple of mushrooms. They look really lovely. And then I'm going to cut one piece of steak just to have a look and see what it's like. On the okay, put that on the board. Now notice I put it on the board, but I didn't have any raw meat there. We'll plate up this one. As I said, it was rough, so there was a bit of an end of it that I had to cut. So there we go. Now, I want you to see the sauce. Yeah. So you can just see how lovely that sauce is. Absolutely superb. Now, let's just have a look. I forgot about having a knife handy. There we go. I'll just cut it. So you don't cut it when you're trying to see how well it is, because then you lose all your juices. But I shall sacrifice this piece of steak. Oh, look at that. Perfectly cooked and rested. See how the blood's not coming out of it? That is because, I'll pop it there to stay warm, because this is going to be my dinner. Because it's perfectly rested, that's all fine. So there you go. So I'll give you a close-up of that. There you are. There's our steak with our reduction sauce, the mushrooms, and colourful veggies. And so that's it. It is how to cook the perfect steak. Thanks for saying that. Kombucha. To do kombucha next week. Well, I don't think so. I'll worry about that. When my son was in primary, he came home one day and said, we're learning about the different countries of the world. So we're taking food from a different country. He said, I said you'd make a croquembouche for France. I got fried rice for China. And he said, but Mum, I've seen you make them. I said, yeah, it's a lot of money. That was my cater today. Man, don't keep pork chops from becoming great. Don't overcook them. Do the same thing. Take them off when they're medium. Okay, do not wait until they're cooked through, because they will continue to cook on the plate covered with foil. In fact, if they're bone, sometimes it's a good idea to seal and pop them in the oven for a bit, but don't overcook them. That's definitely my tip. So enjoy my dinner. I certainly thank him. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Penny. Thanks, Lucy. Oh, and there's Ben. Well, thanks so much, everybody. You might post on my page what you might like me to do next week, but it's been real fun. I'm now the lighting guy, the cameraman, the prep chef, talent, and a upper. But it's been really fun, especially with all the messages like that. It's like seeing people. So in the crazy lockdown world, that's what it is. But to all of you, cheers, and I hope you have a happy and healthy week. Thanks for everything. Bye.